this may go against popular opinion, but I am pretty underwhelmed. Loki episode 6 was released today, and I know what's on everybody's mind. Does this finale stick the landing? Well, I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be letting you know what happened in this episode and what I think about the episode, and if it did indeed stick the landing. Okay, so this episode picks up right where the last episode left off. If you remember in the last episode, Loki and Sylvie, they both had taken control of the smoke monster, Alaya, and they were able to see this little castle look like a door open, the smoke parted, and there was a castle in the way in the distance. So this episode starts off with them, walking through this castle, but they're just walking down this hallway when all of a sudden they're greeted by a familiar face. Miss Minutes, the little animated clock thing that Loki and Mobius and several characters talk to throughout the season, just appears in midair, like right in front of them, and starts talking to them. Now, Miss Minutes, she gives them an option. Now, what she wants to offer them is like a place of their own, like their own reality where they both rule that reality together. They both live in the same reality together. They both rule that reality together, happily ever after, be put back in the timeline. I kind of feel like this offer was something to just kind of like throw like a wrench in their plans as far as what they came there to do. Sylvie, of course, she's not having it. She's like, no, she come there for a reason. She wants to kill the person who's in charge. Loki, he also kind of was like, he had some questions about the deal that they was offering. It seemed like he was considering it, but at the end, they both kind of turned it down. It was like they're here for a reason and they're continuing with their reason. And once they turned it down, Miss Minutes was like, fine, have it your way. And she disappeared, and they continued on down the hallway. Now, I'm going to get back to Loki and Sylvie in a second, but there are two other things that happened, while it was going on. I might be out of order a little bit, but it really doesn't matter. I'm still going to get to the same point. But we had two characters we was wondering what was going to happen with. One was Mobius. If you remember, he used the temp pad to get back to the TVA. Everybody kind of speculated that he was there to burn it down. And then, of course, B-15. This is the woman that Sylvie kind of showed the reality to, that she kind of was in the last episode. She was kind of being held captive, but somehow B-15 had gotten away and had escaped, and she teleported to a time. I mean, she was walking down the hallway of a school, and she still had on her uniform and everything. So she's walking down the hallway to a school, and then that's where we see a cup on a table on a desk with a bunch of the pens. If you remember in a previous episode, Mobius was playing around with the pen that was in the office. That was in Judge Renslayer's office, and they kind of lingered onto that pen for a while. Come to find out, she's at that high school. She's at that high school where that pen was found, and there's a bunch of pens in a little cup. And of course, the other TVA agents, were sent after to catch B-15, and they chased her down the hallway and they corner her in the classroom. So she stops them. She's like, wait, what you're doing is not what you think you're doing. Let me tell you the truth, this and that. And right when they was sitting there having this conversation, Ravonna comes walking in the room. But it wasn't Ravonna Renslayer that we knew. It was a woman. I'm guessing it was her in her previous life before she was taken to the TVA, and it was her. She was a school teacher, and she walks in the room and she's like, what are you guys doing in here? Well, the other agent looking was like, Judge Renslayer, what are you doing here? And she's like, who is Judge Renslayer? So this Ravonna that they run into have no idea what they're talking about. So this, I'm guessing, is the Ravonna that before she became part of the TVA, before her mind was wiped, as Sylvie had said that happened to all of those people that worked there. This was her before that time. And then at that point, all of the TVA agents, they kind of looked at B-15, they looked at each other, and they're like, we got a lot to talk about. So the second part I want to get to before we get back to Loki and Sylvie is Mobius. Mobius, at the end of the last episode, you saw he used the temp pad to go back. People thought he was going back to try to destroy the TVA. So he gets there. He got one of those little sticks, the purge sticks, and he goes in the office where Ravonna Renslayer is, she sees him and she's surprised. Mobius, he's kind of hurt and upset because, you know, all of this time, all of these years, no telling how long they've been there, he kind of looked at Ravonna as a friend, you know. And so he's like, how could you do this to me? I thought we were friends. And then Ravonna kind of twisted. She was like, well, you betrayed me. You know, you the one that, you know, sided with the Lokis. You betrayed me, you know, and all of this kind of stuff. She used her TemPad to open up a time portal door, and I don't know where she was going. He asked her where she was going. She was like, where she needs to be or something like that. But I don't know where she was going. All I know is he said, I can't let you go through that door. And she was like, well, try and stop me, you know. So he goes and attacks her, which she quickly just takes the little stick, the purge stick from him and knocks him to the ground. And then he kind of looks at her and says, you know, well, I guess this is probably what I expected to happen. So she turned around and she walks through the door and the door disappears. I think that whole sequence was his plan, you know. He attacked her and then got knocked down pretty easily, you know, and I believe that his goal wasn't to actually beat her in that little skirmish. I believe his goal was something else, and we just hadn't seen it yet, you know, at this point. And you know, I won't go back to this section, but we never see what his goal was. We never know what it is. And it just ends. That part just ends. So now we're going to get back to what everybody's waiting for. We're going to get back to Loki and Sylvie. What happened with them? This is the main part of the episode that makes the whole episode worth it. But we're going to get right on to that. And I'm going to tell you what happened with them. So after a brief walk down the hallway with Sylvie and Loki, they come into this big room, and when they get there, somebody appears before them. And of course, the rumors were right. It was Kang, which Kang, I said Kane. It was Kang, which they never said his name throughout this whole episode. They never revealed that his name is Kang, but we all know that this is Kang because the character is Jonathan Majors, which we all know, if you've been keeping up with the news, that he had been cast to play Kang the Conqueror. So he's there and he's talking to them, and right off the bat, Sylvie tries to kill him. You know, they find out he's just a regular person. Sylvie tries to kill him, but he kind of have like these powers. You know, he got like a little thing on his hand, sort of like a TemPad that's built into his hand. And every time she tries to attack him, he just teleports away. You know, he teleports away and he's kind of laughing at them and taunting them and everything. And then you find out that he actually know everything that's happening right then. Everything that goes on, he already knows. So he knew when she was going to attack. He knew where to move so he wouldn't get hit and all of this kind of stuff. So they try a couple of times, and then once they realize they're not going to hit him, they stopped and they started listening to what he had to say. So up to this point, you know, the whole main part of the episode has been Kang basically explaining what he's doing. Just a lot of exposition. And I'll break it down pretty quick as far as what he explained. Okay, so he said that he was actually alive in the 30th century, you know, and he discovered different dimensions. He discovered the multiverse. And during his research, he ended up being able to talk to other people from different dimensions, and he found different variants of himself in those other dimensions, because in those other dimensions, the other variants of himself also discovered the multiverse. So they all kind of coordinated with each other, and they started sharing information, sharing technology and all of this stuff. And they became really powerful as far as a technology sense and a knowledge sense. And they built up, they had a lot of experiments and a lot of things that helped them grow their technology and their knowledge of the multiverse and a whole bunch of different things. But what he found out was that while at first it seemed like it was pretty good because it was like a collection of, you know, identical people, you know, collaborating with each other, you know, he found out that not all of them were the same. Some of them had their own minds. Some of them had their own wants and needs and stuff. So there were a bunch of them that didn't really care about the sharing of information, the sharing of technology, but they was more interested in trying to use that information and use that technology to conquer, to lead, to rule and stuff like that. So there were a lot of people that just had really bad intentions of their discovery. And it started to where they started fighting with each other, all of the different variants of Kang, which at this point they still never said his name. They started fighting with each other. Well, the original Kang, which is the guy that they're talking to, discovered Elias, and this is the smoke monster. And he discovered this monster. It was a monster that can devour space and time and all of this kind of stuff. So he discovered this monster, this smoke monster, and he was able to take control of this monster and weaponize it. And he used this monster and used the powers that this monster had to create his own little pocket universe where that castle is, and to clean up the timelines and to serve as a protector, to protect everything, to protect the Kangs that just interested in knowledge and all of that kind of stuff from the Kangs that wanted to be conquerors. He kind of used his monsters to hold them at bay. And then that's when the TVA was born. And the TVA was born out of his need to try to keep the timeline clean and to keep all of the other Kangs from causing destruction. So then this comes to Loki and Sylvie. His plan all along was for them to show up at this point because he had been alive for so long that he said he was tired. He was ready to move on. And he said up until a certain point, he knew everything that was going to happen. But there is a point where he said that his knowledge of what's going to happen stops. And then they reached that point. You know, they had reached that point at that moment when he was talking to them. So what he offered them is, he said they had two options. He said he know they were coming to kill him, and he said they can kill him. He said he's ready to die if that's the case. He said they can kill him, but killing him will then open the door for all the other Kangs, people a lot worse than him, to come and try to do what they want to do. Or they can take his place and they be in control of the TVA, and they can continue the work he's done as far as trying to maintain the timelines and everything. So he gives them that offer. And of course, both Loki and Sylvie, they both want different things. Loki starts to think that maybe maintaining the timeline would be better because you don't know who's going to come behind this Kang if they kill him. Maybe somebody a whole lot worse. Sylvie, she's a one-track mind. She just wants to kill Kang. So while they kind of discuss this and argue, they kind of fight with each other for a little while. You see a little action scene where they both got their daggers and they're fighting with each other. Every time Sylvie tries to attack Kang, Loki stops her and all of this kind of stuff. And then it comes to a point where Loki kind of confesses his feelings towards her. You know, he's like, you know, she thinks he wants to rule, but he's like, no, I don't want to rule. All I want is you, you know. And she kind of looks at him and it looks like she's falling for it, and she feels the same way, and she kisses him. And when she kissed him, which I know everybody was waiting for it, I kind of felt funny because they're the same person. I don't know. I didn't know how to feel. I just thought it was weird. But she kisses him, and right when she finished kissing him, she pushes him away, and then he goes through a time portal door that she opened up behind him without him knowing, and then it closes. And now Loki is back in the TVA, and it's just Sylvie and Kang. Kang sitting in the chair. And Sylvie walks over to Kang and kills him, you know. She takes her dagger and pushes it right through his heart and kills him, you know. Okay, so they go back to the TVA, and you have B-15 and Mobius, and it looks like the timelines is going all crazy, and all of the variant agents and stuff are going crazy. They're running around and everything, and it looks like Mobius and B-15 are trying to figure out what they're going to do. Then it cuts back to Loki. You know, he's now in the TVA, and he's running around, and he's looking for Mobius, and he runs to Mobius, and he gets to Mobius. And when he tries to warn Mobius about what's happening, about somebody more dangerous is about to show up, Mobius looks at him and is like, who are you? I don't know who you are. Explain to me who you are. So you find out that killing Kang, Sylvie killing Kang, had already changed things. Mobius have no idea who Loki is. It looks like his mind was wiped and everything. Same thing with B-15. They have no idea who Loki is. And then that's when Loki look around. He realizes what's going on, and he looks. And instead of there being a statue of the timekeepers that were all over the TVA, now we have a statue of Kang the Conqueror. I don't know what's going to happen next, but this was the last episode of the season, and the episode ends just like that. Now, one thing we do get after you watch the closing credits for a little while, we get a little credit scene at the end, like an end credit scene that basically says season two of Loki is coming. It's a confirmation that we're going to have season 2 of Loki. So this storyline is going to get continued. It's going to continue on in season 2. So we know that that's coming, and that's probably why this episode ended the way it did. What did I think of the episode? Well, you know, I'll be completely honest with you, and I haven't watched any other reviews yet. I haven't read any other reviews yet. So this may go against popular opinion, but I am pretty underwhelmed. I'm pretty disappointed. This season kind of ended the way it started. If you remember, the very first episode was a pretty much a long episode filled with exposition. This episode was the same way as the first episode. It ended with an episode filled with exposition. And I don't know, I just was disappointed. One thing that did happen that a lot of people kind of rumored about was we did get to see Kang the Conqueror, even though they never said his name, but we all know that that's who this is. And maybe they did say his name and I just missed it. But as far as I can remember, they never said his name, but we all know that that's who this is. But other than that satisfaction, the satisfaction of seeing Kang the Conqueror in this episode, I was pretty underwhelmed. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like that. I just wasn't really happy with this episode. I've kind of felt like, I don't know. I kind of feel like, what was the point? We go through this whole season and things kind of, like I've said in a bunch of videos, it starts out here and then it slowly goes down and slowly goes down. And most of the Marvel shows have done this. WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, they both of those shows have done this, and this one did it too. But this one had so much less going on throughout the season than those other shows that it kind of seemed to, I don't know, it kind of seemed to stand out more to me. I don't know, maybe my excitement, the aura, the Marvel aura that I've had when all of this Marvel stuff started is starting to wear off. Maybe they've kind of like did the same thing so much that it's starting to wear off, and I'm starting to get to a point where I don't have this automatic interest, as much as I did at first, But yeah, I was kind of disappointed with this episode. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of, I'm just kind of disappointed with this episode. I'm not saying it's bad. It was interesting. It was a lot of good information. It was nice to see Kang the Conqueror. I wouldn't say it was bad or the season was bad, but I just left. I just finished this episode feeling kind of disappointed, But yeah, that's where I'm at. I really don't know what to say. I would say watch it, of course. If you've been watching the rest of the season, go ahead and watch it. I'm curious to see what you think about it. Did you have the same feeling that I did? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. I'd like to hear what other people say about it. Right after I finish editing this video and getting it prepared to upload, I'm going to watch some other videos to see if anyone else feel the same as me. I know a lot of people may not, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll find out. But I kind of feel bad to say that, for that to be my thoughts, but that's where I'm at, disappointed. But anyway, if you like this episode or any of my other stuff, make sure you check out my videos. I'm going to have a gunpowder milkshake video that's coming out soon. I'm ready to watch that as soon as I hit stop on this record. I'm ready to go watch that. So I'll be doing a video on that soon. I have my Tomorrow War video that's already edited. I'm ready to put that out. That'll be out in a couple of days. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit like, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.